Hi folks, and in this video what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of juice to the actual project itself, and we're going to start thinking about adding in some animations for our player character. So at the moment in time I've got a bit of a sprite sheet here for the player character, and that includes this nice little nifty combat flipbook which we're going to create. So what I've got is 3 different sprites of my little dwarf with an axe here. So we're going to right click on them when they're all selected by pressing shift and clicking on all of them, creating a flipbook, and we'll call this FLP underscore player combat. There we go. So as you may notice, we've now got our little combat chap in action, just sitting there flipping that axe up and down, up and down, up and down. We can actually play around with this quite a bit. We could actually use some of the sprites and change the listing of the order and that they play out if we really want to. That makes the animation look a bit weird if we do that. We can also duplicate them to make them appear longer in frame, which might actually be quite nice. So we've got a nice little start and end point to make it feel a bit more smoother. We can also think about playing around with the order of them. So it's a bit more of a choppy, choppy, chop, chop kind of animation. Of course, we can get rid of some so it makes it feel a bit more broader within the hip. Personally, I quite like it as a nice little fluid up and down curve. Sorry, playing around with this. I think I prefer that as a natural motion with. There you go. That's quite nice. Let's get rid of maybe that. There you go. That's quite nice. A nice up and down curve going between all the sprites. Right, so now I've got a nice little flipbook created for my character. Let's make sure I put them in the flipbooks folder. Move them. Don't make a copy, otherwise you have to. Now, what we'll do is we'll go to our player character themselves, and what we're actually going to do is have a bit of an animation update, which is going to play out whenever we're in combat or whenever we're in non-combat, I guess would be the case. So what's going to happen is I'll create a update animation on our little character. That's going to have the lovely switch statement based off of states, wasn't it? What did I call it again? Player states. There we go. And that's going to go into a nice switch. Just call this a player states. Right, then what we're going to do is we're going to update this state to the animation in question. So we're just going to get the flipbook, boom, like so, set flipbook here. So when walking around the world, we'll set this just to a regular little chap, and when walking around combat, we're going to set this to little Xy flipping guy. So we could also add one for when in quest, like we could have their hand up. Is it cheap thinking or reading a book? Who knows? So the idea is we've now got our current state set up. I can then just put this into the anim player like so and like so. What I can also do, of course, is on my refresh after combat ends, set that from being in combat back into peacetime, right into walking. So what I could do is at the end combat, I have the NPC state here, but I also want the player state. So I'll just move the NPC code down a bit, just like so, and then I'll get player state like this. Ooh, that's actual player state. Probably shouldn't have called it player state, player current state, that's why. Cool. And then we can update the animation. Just hit update animation. And we want this to be a set current player state to world. There you go. That goes into there. That gets updated there. We can get rid of that getter. We don't need the setter for this one. And if by magic, what should now happen is when we're going into combat, walking around normal. I'll make that a bit bigger. Sorry, it's quite difficult to see if I send the content browser that big. So walking around in normal. There we go. Ooh. Get to this location, and now I'm in combat. So you can see the combat. So I'm taking them back into peace mode. There you go. Right, folks, and there we have it. We now have a entire project pretty much sorted. We have combat, we have interactable NPCs, which will ask us to do quests, which we can then finish. We have other NPCs as well who can interact with us, but at this moment in time they don't actually have an end point in quest, but we can easily have that in from the lessons that we've learned in previous videos. And then we can go into combat as well and have random combat encounters. There you go. And each time we could get... Oh no. Oh dear. Well, probably need to end a state for my character as well to reset the entire game. That is, of course, something I will give you the opportunity to create in your own time if you want to extend this project further. It might be a nice little case study of just going, okay, when player's health equals 0, create a little refresher in here to then refresh the player character back to the start location, or perhaps quit the game. In fact, yeah, that's something I'll let you do in your own time. But yeah, hopefully you have found this video tutorial series very useful. Hopefully you're now sitting there playing around with these going, actually I want to make my own little RPG game and I want to make it an interesting little setup that I've got. I want to build some custom characters and stuff and add them to the world, and maybe that'd be an interesting little project for you. Hopefully you've then taken this on board to create some nice little RPG style games as well, especially for mobile devices. Right, folks, well, thanks again. Take care. Goodbye.